Hello and welcome. I am back on Forza 6 for another S-Class time attack build, and today we are here with the Audi RS5 Coupe. This is one of my more favored cars for going racing. I remember using it back in, what was it, Grid 1 or 2? I can't remember which one, but it was one of the earlier grids, and I just love this car, and I've loved it ever since. Now, I'm not going to have a huge amount of PI to play with this car, because as you can see, we're just now getting the tires on and we're into A class. And we have 295s all around, which is pretty damn good. 295s on the front is some of the larger tires you're probably going to see on the front. And having 295s in the rear is pretty damn sizable. Now I'm going to keep this car as its standard drivetrain, which is four-wheel drive. So with the large tires and the four-wheel drive, I doubt we're going to see much in the way of traction issues. I'm just going to stick on all the handling parts, that way we have a nice car, and hopefully we won't have any issues with any oversteer. I could possibly, depending on how much power we get in this, before we get to top of S class, we might have some issues with understeer. We saw it last time out with the El Camino, but to be honest, the El Camino was pretty damn good for having 1,000 horsepower. We're already up into S class and we haven't put any power bits in it yet. I'm just going to go and throw on the aero bits, that way we have as much handling as possible. Now, I'm going to keep the engine as standard because we're already in S class and I don't feel like we're going to really need that much more in the way of bits to try and get up. And now that I say that, I am looking at this engine, the 5.2 liter V10. It's lighter, it gives more torque and more horsepower, and I think I'm going to take back what I said, because if we can get this as light as possible and get some more power in it, and it still stays in S class, and we still have a bit of room to play with, then I say why not. Now the turbos do add a little bit of horsepower, but also adds some weight. It's not a huge amount, but I don't think we're going to need them in order to get this thing to the top of S class, so I'm going to leave it naturally aspirated. And I'm just going to go and stick on some of these parts, the exhaust, to save some weight. I'm going to try and put on all the bits that save weight first, that way we can have a nice light car and still have decent power. Because it's up to 600 horsepower now, 420 foot-pounds of torque. We still have a little bit to go until we're at the top of S class, but not going to have any problems with getting there. We're down to around 3,000 pounds. And we got a little bit of PI still left to work with. Throw the flywheel on, and that should get us up to the top of S class. So, the end result is 640 horsepower, 450 foot-pounds of torque, and 3,000 pounds, which it's a little bit on the heavier side, but for a four-wheel drive coupe, it's not that bad, and the power-to-weight ratio is pretty damn good. I mean, we have 640 horsepower. It's not as much as you saw in the El Camino that went last time, but that may have been the El Camino's undoing, is the amount of power it had to try and deal with putting through the front and rear wheels. So it's time to see how this fairs around the track. And we are here at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, ready to do our 6 laps and see if the Audi RS5 can dethrone the Ford GT. Now remember, the Ford GT set a time of 50.6, and so far nothing's been able to get past it. Last time out, the El Camino went into second place with a 51.8, and it came within a second thereabouts of Ford, but nothing's been able to get higher than that. So hopefully this Audi will be able to top the Ford, but only time will tell. And as to be expected, we have great traction off the line. Four-wheel drive really helps with that. Getting a little bit of four-wheel drift there, which I gotta say I wasn't particularly expecting, and that could be a problem because we've seen how cars like to drift around the final corner. But so far I haven't had problems. Usually the problem with understeer comes when I go around that second corner. Usually gets drug out wide, but I haven't had that problem. The brakes are amazing. It's stopped excellently. Now we'll see if the understeer is a problem around this last corner, and it doesn't really seem to be much of an issue. I was expecting more understeer than what we're getting, and this is going to be a blisteringly quick lap for first lap. This thing gets stopped so quickly, and it handles so nicely. Have a little bit of problems coming into that first corner. You start to slide a little bit just because of the camber of the corner. This thing, it's amazing. It suits my driving style well. It doesn't really slide around. The back end's fairly planted. You don't get a lot of understeer. I mean, you can be flat out of the corners, and you just have no problem. The brakes are phenomenal. I was honestly not expecting this to get stopped as well as it does. I mean, you take a 3,000-pound car with 600 horsepower and you throw it into a corner, you're not really expecting it to stop as well as this does. Almost ran into a bit of trouble there. I clipped the inside curb, and the curbs here at the Brands Hatch are horrifying. You don't want to be clipping them at all, especially in that first corner, because you clip the inside curb and it throws you out wide, and if you get on that outside curb, you're either going to have a spin or you're going to be off into the sand trap. Hard coming into this last final corner here. Made up some time in this lap, but let's see if it's going to be enough. It's quick. It beats out the El Camino, and that puts it in second place now. And there I did the exact same thing, clipping that curb. We still have a couple laps to try and go faster. Want this car to go faster. It's an amazing car. The acceleration front might not be as, it might not accelerate as quickly as some cars, like the El Camino accelerated insanely quickly, but it weighed less and it had 400 more horsepower than what this car does. So that's to be expected. But most cars, even when you play around drive around this track, around that last corner, they have issues. They like to slide around and get unhappy. We saw the BMW that went out. That got insanely unhappy and twitchy and had a bit of a spin, but this, you can just be flat out and have no worries. We have one more lap after this one to hopefully get a better time and beat out the Ford GT. I got a little bit unhappy. I had a wheel on the curbs. This lap isn't going to be much better. But We still have one more after this to make the Audi go faster. A little bit understeer there, but nothing major. Wasn't dragging us insanely wide. On to our last lap to try and beat our best time. So far we have a 51.1. See if we can shave off about a second. That would put it ahead of the Ford GT. Careful not to put a wheel on the curb there and cause it to get unhappy. We're not really gaining any time. We're actually down on time, so unless I can make up some time through this final section, it's looking like it's not going to be a faster lap, but we will see. And it is not faster. So, the Audi doesn't go faster than the Ford GT, but it came pretty dang close. It came within half a second. The Audi went at a 51.1, which, honestly, I'm happy with. I'm impressed with it. Having 700 horsepower in a four-wheel drive car that weighs 3,000 pounds, I'd say that's pretty decent. So, we haven't been able to dethrone the Ford yet, but maybe next time.